going on, guys? So back again with the battery location ongoing saga with this bike. I think I've decided to have it on this tube. A few different reasons. One, I think it looks alright. It don't look bad there. Secondly, it's quite a nice thick wide tube. If you look at the tube on the bottom, it's very small. The battery ends up covering part of the foot plates and bracket, as I discussed in the last video. I'm going to go this way round. Now I just spun the battery round so the power cable come out this end, because I thought maybe that'd be easier. There's a little gap under here, I can run it under and then come under this tube or whatever option. But it has to be in a very exact location, because just show on this side, I've had to do it so the key literally can be accessed and unlocked through this little gap, which, you know, it's doable. But to be honest, this little bit of cable here, it's probably going to annoy me. I mean, I could drill into the frame now. Is it worth it just to go that far? What I might do is flip it the other way up. The key should then be at the top. I think if I get the battery location right to here first, spin it round the other way so the power cable comes out here, get it mounted, and then after it's mounted, I might drill one hole with a rubber grommet and run the power cable into this tube. Oh no, I'm not going to be able to do that, am I? Because the crank. This was the reason actually that I put it this way around in the first place. Okay, change of plan, guys. This battery is going to have to go this way. I can't run that into there and up through the bottom bracket. That's not a feasible option. The bottom tube isn't a feasible option because I'm not sure how this seat posts, if it's sealed, and it's going to be no good exiting up here anyway. So it's a tough one. I don't really want nothing this close to the ground because it's such a low bike. I think this is the way it's going to have to go, you know. Maybe I'm going to mount it and then I can decide whether I want to run this cable straight into the frame in there, come out under here so you don't see it, and then I can either tack it along the bottom of this frame, or I can drill again, run it up into this tube and exit it somewhere around here. So yeah, I'm not sure how far I want to go with it today, but minimum I want to mount the battery so it's solid. Then it's an easy afternoon's work extending cables and things if I wish to. But for now, I think what I want to do is try and get that mounted, then maybe just temporarily run the cable, connect the controller, make sure the screen, everything works. Maybe just, it's a decent day, maybe just take this for a little ride, I think. Yeah, so we're gonna mask this up, mark all the locations, mark where the holes are going, centre punch it, drill it, and then have a go at this RIVNUT gun. I need to figure out where the holes are to mount this, because if they're up that end, I feel like that would be better on this slope. If the mounting holes are this end, I feel like it might raise up a little bit. So I'll look at that. I want a minimum of 2, if not 3 bolts and RIVNUT holes holding this battery in place. I don't think it's going to go anywhere with a couple of decent placed screws, but anyway, get this battery off and we'll get to it. I'll start taking the battery case apart and figuring out which way round is it. This way round. Started putting a line as to roughly where the battery case ends. Then I found the centre point. Now how I found the centre point, the best that I could, was these 2 ventilation or drip holes or whatever you call it from the bottom bracket. I measured them with a vernier and then I divided that number by 2, and then I found a centre point between here. Then further down the tube I took the whole width of the frame, again divided it by 2, put a point there. And again up here I was going to just go between these 2 side panels, but they're not welded the same. That's got more of a lip that side than the other side has, so I ignored that because that isn't on symmetrically. So again I just took a measurement, I can't remember, somewhere around here further up, divided it again by 2, so I had 3 points, and then I just connected them up with a ruler and double checked it the best I can. I don't think that's too bad. It's pretty straight, I think. So once I've got the centre point, then it was time to start trying to figure out where to put the holes. So you've got these 3 slots here. I started marking out where the 3rd slot is. You know, there's a bit of give up and down in this direction to get some movement, because there's a slot. If I put that side by side, you can kind of see. Right, issues are you have some terminals coming out here, and I know that you can't put the screw too close to there because the top of the bolt head can interfere with the connection. So this one I've stuck an arrow to mount it further down this end of the slot. The middle slot is too close to the bottom bracket for my liking. I don't think I need three close together. I've got one here and one down this end. Now this one, slot number 3, I've done at this end, so it's furthest down the battery as possible. Right, now I've taken this section out the battery tray, and as you can see I've marked it with a vernier at the centre point to line up with these slots. Now I'm going to do what I've done on some other bikes. What I'm going to do now is drill a hole in here, and I'm going to do the first hole in the tube somewhere around, I'll figure it out in a minute, somewhere in this section. I'm going to mount this to the frame first, and then once that's screwed into the frame, I'm going to lay that over, put the screws back in, double check these holes, and then do the 3 holes for here, here and here. So what I'm going to end up having is one up this end of the battery, just for demonstration. I'm going to have one up this end, one about here, obviously there, and one about here. I'm going to skip this one because of the bottom bracket, so I'll be 1, 2 and then 3, and obviously this will be inside here. I think that would be really sturdy. Obviously I've got to make sure this all lines up parallel, otherwise the battery's going to be really pissed, or the holes aren't going to line up. Yeah, so first things first, a cup of tea and get the drill out. I'm going to put a hole in here, and then yeah, then we might have to start doing our first we'll start doing our first riv nut. Right guys, so got the hole in this little metal section of the battery base plate. It's come out pretty well. I've gone a little bit, wiggled a little bit side to side, so it's got a bit of movement in case it's not perfectly lined up. I've taken my centre punch and hammer, and I've lined up and marked where I think the drill point needs to be. At this point it's time to fully commit, so I'm going to go in with a small pilot hole, then I'm going to go in with one big enough for the I think it's M6 bolt maybe that I'm using. Alright, going straight in with this 7mm drill bit. I can't get straight onto this, but the angle I want to get on, it's got a bit of a slight angle. Scary shit. Can't believe I've just put a big hole in the frame. Right, so if I peel off just this little section. Right, there's a riv nut. Hopefully this should fit in that hole. And it does nicely. Right, so I've got this one bolt in this section. I've done this a few times with batteries. This is quite a solid little extra bit of strength, because what you find is normally there's 2 bolts either at the top or the bottom of the battery, and then the battery sort of lifts off the frame a little bit, so this gives it a lot more rigidity. It just takes a little bit of figuring out to, as you can see, to get it on straight and stuff. Now there's a little bit of movement in this. I'm absolutely fine with that, like side to side, so it can, you know, line up with the other holes. That's absolutely fine. So what's going to happen is the rest of the base can now go on there. There is 3 screws to go here, 2 at the bottom there, 3 screws to go on that. I'm not too worried about that. I just want to peek through these slots and see whether you can see the arrow there. That's what I was saying, there's some pins that come out and connectors to about here, so I'd rather the hole in this slot to be up this end of the slot. I'm going to skip that one because of the bottom bracket, and again I'd rather this close to the bottom, so I've got support all the way from here up to here, and then one in the middle. So yeah, that looks like it's working out pretty good. I'm going to centre punch these 2 more holes, and then just, yeah, do exactly the same with the riv nuts and hope that it all lines up. Right, I'm actually going to take this masking tape off and hope that the centre punch holes are there, because what I'm finding is as I'm drilling into this masking tape, it's heating up the glue and making a complete mess of the paintwork underneath. I can wipe it off, but just think that, yeah, if I take the tape off, that's actually worked really well. Got a very clear indentation in the paint here and here. Right, these 2 other holes have come out pretty decent. I'm happy with that. Now I've taken the masking tape off after centre punching it. It's left, well, basically no glue residue where the friction from drilling melts the glue and then makes a bit of a mess. You're not going to see it, but anyway, time to see if these line up with the battery case. Right, this is a live trial whether this works or not. That's on there. So you've got one hole there and one hole very close to the bottom of that slot there. That looks pretty good to me. Not going to know how straight it lines up until I try putting bolts in all of it and screwing this up, but that's pretty close here. No, that's alright, I'm happy with that. Just going to go this way round to the lip. I'll screw that on there. Right, this is where we're up to. I've now put the cable back in here. I've put the 3 screws in here, here and here. And as you can see, it turned out pretty damn well. Because like I said, I found that if you put it in a position where the bolt is like here, then it protrudes and stops the battery sliding onto this base. So that's come out really well. Happy with that is at the end of that slot. And again, I'd rather, because this is the one furthest down the battery, it was further at the end point of the battery, so I've got a screw here, I'll have a screw here and then one up here. So I'm actually really happy with that. So I'm now going to find a couple of bolts that fit to try and see that it lines up. Then I've got to figure out whether I'm going to bother putting a hole in to feed this cable into the frame and then back out there. I don't know if it's worth it for the sake of literally having a cable running that far, like inside. Not quite sure whether it's worth drilling the frame even more just for that. So anyway, let me get the battery. Let me see if these bolts will line up. And there it is. Decent amount of thread gone in, gone up really tight. This is so solid. I don't think I've ever made a battery base fit quite so solid to the bike. There can be a little bit of distortion, especially when you get a good grip and you tighten it. Like there could be a bit of flex in the battery base, which can make it hard to slide the battery on. Like you can see here, it's very close to that crank piece. It might make it difficult to get the battery on, so I'm going to try that now, see whether it affects putting it in. If not, I might have to space this out a little bit. Right, so the battery didn't go on first attempt. Like I mentioned, this can warp, especially if it's not completely flat. Like if this bottom bracket, as you see, is slightly, do you know what I mean? If it's not completely flat surface and you tighten it up at different locations, it can warp, and then the battery doesn't fit into these things deep enough. So what I've done is, there's a couple of plastic shims that come with a battery. I've put them between the frame here, don't know if you can see that, and one here where the screws are. I've got a plastic shim behind, so now as you can see from there, that's dead straight and the battery goes on nicely. Screws are back in. This is very, very sturdy. So yeah, time to get the battery on, lock it in place. That is solid. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. So there we have it, final mounting position of the battery. I think it was about the best option. It's the fattest tube. Kind of balances the weight out on the front a little bit. It's fairly low down. Yeah, quite happy with that. I mean, like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to bother drilling for the sake of hiding this amount of cable. I don't know if it's worth it, to be honest. I've temporarily just tucked it in there and cable tied it here. I might get some like adhesive clips that could run underneath this section of tube. I don't know. What I might do is pop this off the stand and just temporarily mount the controller, if it fits between the cables, and take this for a little spin. Yeah, let's do that. I just basically, as you can see, I've just had to bodge everything together. I've had to extend the battery cable because it wasn't enough cable to connect the motor wheel to the battery the other end of the bike because it's so long. So I've done a temporary fix of cables, just kind of loosely secure things down with cable ties. I've got no tool arm on the back, but I couldn't resist. I just took it up the road to see if it worked, and it has put the biggest smile on my face. Like, it is just so good. It's so good. Yeah, so the controller's just cable tied on. The display is just hanging over the handlebars. It's not even on the bracket or anything. I can do all of this later. It's been months. Anyone that's followed my channel, that's been months making this bike, and I just want to take it out for a ride. Like, I've only got one handle grip. I've got no tool arm on it. Everything's just loosely cable tied in position, but for the first time I've got electric power and I've got brakes. I've not set any of the settings on the controller whatsoever, but I'm just too excited, so I'm gonna go straight out for a little ride. So made it down to the cafe. Just wanted to say also a big thank you to Martin Ledvina, one of the subscribers to the channel. Kindly donated some money to me. I put a link in most descriptions for donations, but was quite pleasantly surprised when he chucked me some money. That meant I was able to treat myself to a few drinks this week whilst I'm doing my videos. So really appreciated that. I was really pleasantly surprised. It's not a lot of money you get doing YouTube, so yeah, I appreciate every little bit of help that I'll get. I really appreciate it, so thanks for that. I'm gonna call it that for today's video, to be honest, because the battery's on now. There's just a case of you know, getting everything fitted up a little bit more tidily. Just wanted to see what it's like to ride. It is lots and lots of fun. It's definitely a little bit quirky. The front end bounces a little bit. The pedals strike the floor if you're not careful, but that's, you know, it's what it's all about. It's an extreme bike that's kind of built for just cruising, really. So as long as it goes along and it brakes well and it's reliable, yeah, calling it that for today's video, guys. So don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you guys in the video soon.